Welcome back to Mind and Money. My name is Val Stratford. I'm a financial planner.
And I'm Sherry, a financial coach. And today we are going to talk about the things that are currently working for us, which check with us by the time this episode airs, because maybe they won't be working anymore for us, because that's just how ADHD brains work.
So we're talking about things that are working for us in our business, in our personal life, in our home life. And one of the ones for me as of lately, because there's always a really long list of things that I need to do, want to do, should do, could do, would do. I have been brain dumping them. So writing them all down and then picking, for whatever time I have, picking less than I should be able to accomplish in that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're like writing down 10 things and you like pick 4 that you can do. Yep.
Yes. So getting all of it out of my brain and onto paper or onto my iPad, and then taking the ones that, but like, and it's not typically the ones that I like want to do the most. It's just the ones that like need to get done.
Have the most urgency.
And then there might be like one fun reward one that's something that I like have wanted to get done, but it doesn't need to get done.
Oh, now you've got my interest piqued. What is a reward thing on your to-do list from like the last week that comes to your mind?
Buy plants. Pot them, and declutter stuff. Which like,
stop buying plants.
I know. I actually brought you one. It's in my car.
I love that.
But like,
I love that.
Vegetable plants or doing a dump run. Like, it's not like, to me, I'm so excited to do them. But because I think like my business takes such a like first place position that those things don't like it is a reward to step away from my business and be like, okay, I'm going to go do this personal thing.
You're so adulty that it's a reward thing to go to the dump to get rid of things.
Or the Goodwill.
Bless your heart. And something that I've touched on a little bit, I think, is I've really been working the last probably 2 months to reduce my screen time, because when I looked at my screen time, it made me sick a little bit to think about, because I think it even tells you like how much time you spend on your phone per week. And it's like,
yes,
that's a almost full-time job, because I do a lot from my phone that's work, and I was using that as an excuse. One of the things I've been doing is working to find alternatives. So I've been spending more time editing videos and things like that on my computer versus on my phone, because it's better for my eyes too. I'm not squinting at my phone. For a long time, I've been really good at not having my phone in my bedroom, because it can be a huge time suck, and you can pick up your phone and blink and be an hour in and you haven't left your bed yet. So having those cutoff times when I'm not going to be on my phone before X amount of time in the morning and not be on my phone after X amount of time at night. And one of the things that I've been using to really help me with that is an app only currently available for iPhone, but it's called Be Present. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to see your screen time, set a goal for your screen time. And on the free version, you can create one block. So that block could be, if you're only doing one, I would recommend like from time at night. You don't want to use it when in the morning you want to use it.
I didn't even use that. Like, so I've downloaded this because Sherry explained it to me. I haven't even used that feature. I've just set a time limit per day. So I think mine is 4 hours. Then it tells you every hour that you're getting close, and it's cut my screen time, I think 75%.
Nice. And you can set it up to be shamed by somebody. You can set it up so that somebody else gets a text message when you go over your screen time for the day. And on the paid version, you can also, which I did invest in, I think it's like $30.
Who gets the text if you go over?
So right now, Meg. Hi, Meg. But because external stuff works for me so much, so I've been consistently pulling down my goal. And yesterday was the first time I got close to my screen time. And my reaction was to turn my phone off, because I didn't want to go over it, because
that's fantastic.
It's just like, well, I need to stop. It was enough of you're going to go over your goal
and your person will get notified.
And you're able to, on the paid version, set up different blocks of time too. So like a lunch block, a supper block, you can set up a lot of different blocks, and you can also eliminate some apps and some specific things from your screen time, I think also on the paid version. So I think I have it set so like my Google Maps doesn't count towards my screen time, and my good notes, if it's my writing app, doesn't count. So
that would be helpful.
there's a lot of different things that you can do. And you can also go in, and if you just know you're getting lost in your phone and you need to put it down, you can go in and set up from like a half an hour to like a 2 hour, just like special block that you put in so that it's over and above your scheduled time. So it's been really working. Last week it went up a little bit, but yeah, significantly reduced screen time, and the ability to do things on my laptop. It just helps me not
get distracted.
Yeah.
Yes.
And location is a big thing for me. So like where my phone is, if it's right beside me, it's so much mindlessly we pick it up and then we get lost in social media, a notification, even though, so it's another thing I do. I barely have any notifications that actually pop up on my phone. So text message, phone call, Facebook Messenger, and then my plethora of reminders. So not a whole lot of things that push out notifications to me.
But having it located in a different place too, whether it's when you're doing work or trying to get something done, and like plugging it in and like leaving it there then while you're doing the 4 things from your list, super helpful.
And yeah, being able to just be aware of it first. Like go and look at your screen time for the last week if you hadn't, because
that was big. And I think Be Present calculated it into years. I thought it did. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that's jarring to be able to. And you don't need your phone to be your alarm clock. Get an alarm clock. You can go to Walmart probably and get an alarm clock for $20.
Or, I mean, it's just disruptive to your household, but you can put it in a different room. But then you're grabbing it first thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, am I just going to check the weather? And now I'm in Instagram and I've already been through my emails.
And that's where the Be Present app, you can have it set up so that if you plan to get up every morning at X, like at 8 a.m., and you don't want to be on your phone for the first hour, you just set up a session so that these apps are like blocked out until 9 a.m. And yes, you can unblock them. I think you lose points. It's all about a points system and a leaderboard. And
I didn't realize there was a competitive side to it. It shows how much
there's a competitive side to it. Although one thing that has been a little less motivating lately is you move up to different tiers, and the top tier is the diamond tier, and then there's just nowhere to go from there.
That is a Sherry problem. I can see that.
Yeah, so check out the app if you're trying to reduce your screen time. There's probably lots of apps out there. Even if you have an Android, there's a way to do it. But just being able to spend less time on your phone. I saw a video that said the amount of time you spend on your phone is an indicator of ADHD, and that if you spent more than 2.5 hours on your phone, that was an indicator.
Big blanket statement. Yeah. I'm not sure about that one.
I feel like it's really outdated because like we're in that time where unfortunately I think almost everybody spends too much time on their phone, and being able to find ways so that you don't, and you can still get up in the morning because you have an alarm clock and all of those different strategies.
Yeah. The other one would be, that's been working for me lately, is time blocking. So also in that is looking at my schedule and seeing if like there might still be spaces where clients can meet, but I'm looking at how many I already have scheduled that week and blocking it off if I know it's going to be too much, because I still need to save space for admin work, for notes, for other pieces of my business. I cannot just see clients back to back to back to back. Unfortunately, one day someone will just then be able to take my brain at the end of the day and plug it in somewhere, and then I'll be able to do that. But looking at those blocks of time and not seeing them necessarily as free time or space for a client to book, but blocking it and being like, okay, having things that I know there's always something to do.
So do you go into your calendar, and if you have like 2 client meetings and a block between, do you go into your calendar and actually like put a fake appointment in there? Or
I'll just block it.
Like, so in your scheduler, you're doing that. You're going in to make it not available. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And then also time blocking in terms of being like, okay, this hour is for business things, and then I'm spending the next hour on personal things. And then maybe going back and forth, just depends on what that day looks like.
How chaotic your day looks. And for me, I do that more in like days of the week. So I don't meet with clients on Monday, Tuesdays, and Monday usually ends up being like more of the personal things day. Like I still do work on business, but it allows me to have those days where I know I'm not going to have that pressure for client meetings. And I actually, in my scheduler, I'm able to block out like buffers automatically. I don't know if yours does that, but I can say like for every meeting of this type, I want a half an hour after and 15 minutes before, whatever that is. So that allows me to there were periods in my business when I tried to go back to back to back because I do see my clients virtually, and it was just too mentally exhausting. And if you're in a good subject line, you're talking about something, they just ask a question. I don't like, oh, sorry, gotta go. See you next time. It allows me to have a little bit of a flexibility there to give a little bit more time when is needed to like properly wrap things up. Yeah. So yeah, we also were talking about, because we're like 11, 12 episodes in, and one of the things that has been working for us is being consistent with recording and even doing it in person. And we have been being really good about looking at our calendar, especially with summer coming, looking further out to block time that we can get together to do this so that we are consistent and that we are like even ahead several episodes, because it allows us to
have that flexibility too. If something comes up and we can't see each other, the information's still there, right?
Yep. Yeah. So every Thursday we're coming out, and it's being able to schedule them. Every time I schedule them further out, it feels like a big win, because we like anything with ADHD, when you start, it's like, oh, I'm super excited about this. And you come out of the gate and then you get less excited and you don't show up. And especially when starting a new podcast, you don't get thousands of listeners right away. And we definitely appreciate everybody that's listening, but the impact will grow as we continue to be consistent.
Yes. Yes. I found a podcast and I was like, oh, I love this. I love her energy. And the first episode I listened to was from 2020, and there was 2 episodes, and that was it. And I was like, oh, so I'm going to comment on it and be like, can you start again?
All from 2020. It makes you wonder, like, what happened? And I did that last week too. I found a podcast and was actually in a podcast group on Facebook where people were like trying to find guests and like offer to be guests on podcasts. And I looked at one of them, and it was like 2 episodes a month, maybe 3 episodes, and then a couple of months. And just, you wonder when, like, what's going on. Like, people have lives and life gets in the way sometimes. And maybe they started out with a different intention, but our intention was definitely to have that consistency, to hold ourselves to the fire. And even though nothing's going to happen if we miss a Thursday, in my brain, I'm like, must publish episode every Thursday. So being able to set that time up to meet like before
scheduling time in advance, I think, or if there's something you want to get done, then schedule time for it. Like my cousin and I were talking about, we should get together, and I'm like, yes, how's this date? Like, personally, I need to have it in my calendar.
Yeah. And I think we both live and die by our calendars. And if something is not in our calendar, then it's not going to happen. There was a snafu last month, and you had one date in your calendar and I had another date in my calendar. So we've been like shared invites. So like Val's been sending me invites for the days as we discuss them in real time, so that they're in both of our calendars. So we're not independently putting them in our calendars and maybe having wrong dates. I would like to unfortunately report that it has been working for me very well to have a consistent bedtime.
I would like to report that I have not been having a consistent bedtime, and it has not been working for me.
And I've heard, you've heard it. We've all heard it, that a consistent like sleep wake schedule, as somebody who worked shift work life for a long time, and there was no ability for me to be consistent. And I've been out of that world for quite a while, and I've tried it here and there. And then again, with like the health things that I'm using as indicators, it was very clear that sleep was an area I needed to improve. And yes, I've been also taking melatonin. My pharmacist said it was okay. Talk to your health professionals before you start doing that. But also the consistency of my body naturally wakes up now around the same time, even if I don't have an alarm set. And it's heartbreaking because I really liked sleeping in on Saturdays and Sundays and staying up a little later and since I'm focusing on consistency and going to bed like 10:30, it really helps me get up naturally. And then I feel less tired because I'm waking up naturally and not with a jarring alarm. So unfortunately, reporting consistent sleep and wake time is better for your physical and mental health. I'm sorry.
I guess I shouldn't say that. I've been going to sleep around that time, but I wake up earlier. So that's where the problem's been. I haven't been consistently going to bed early enough.
Oh, so you need to go to bed a little bit earlier so that when you wake up,
like
you get enough sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's okay if you need more sleep. I've read a few things where women need more sleep than men. Our bodies do a lot more than men's bodies do. And I need 9 hours of sleep. I'm not afraid to say that. Like 9.5, like that's my sweet spot. And if I tried to live off of 6 hours of sleep, I would be miserable. But then I have more energy during the day. I'm not feeling the need to nap as somebody who previously was a regular napper.
Recommended thing too, to not have or not set an alarm, and then just, which is a privilege, I would say, to some degree, like try going to bed earlier, but then to kind of like do an experiment and see how much sleep you need. But it also changes based on your cycle. So
exactly. And I was reading, we all have different circadian rhythms, and I can't remember what the term is, but there's like terms for different ideal like wake and sleep schedules. And to find that, it actually recommended for 2 weeks, which again is a very big privilege, to go to sleep when you feel tired and let your body wake up naturally, and see at the end of that 2-week period, when are you going to bed and when are you waking up? And that's probably the time nature wants you to go to sleep and wake up. And it is different for everybody.
Right.
But being being able to find that in this day and age is not, because we're in a world where you're forced, because of employment and life and kids and school, to get up and be ready to leave the house. And we don't, so like if you were to take 2 weeks and you found out that you're supposed to go to bed at midnight and wake up at 9:30, that would just be a little,
you'd be like, okay, cool, I can't do that. So that was fun to find out. Now I'm going to live my whole life until retirement
outside of my natural. Yeah. So figuring out what works for you, and it starts with a consistent bedtime, and
I think
your phone down.
That would be the biggest piece, is like consistent bedtime, to at least develop that habit when you wake up, is going to vary.
Yes. If it can vary for some people, it can. And I'm sorry. And maybe one day you'll be able to have that flexibility of your schedule. So being able to figure out what works for you in all things with your health, I think, is really important. And I was telling Val earlier that I thought I'd unlocked some secret sauce for my sleep when I first started taking the melatonin. It happened to coincide with the higher energy periods of my cycle. And I was going to sleep around 10:30 and waking up naturally feeling like loads of energy at 6:30 in the morning. I thought it was the unlock. And then,
whoa, who am I?
That didn't last for very long. And then it occurred to me that it was related to my cycle. And it's okay to have, it feels really different and weird. And I feel so much more productive because I'm up at 6:30. I can work out. I can do all the things. And it's just knowing that that's a very short window for me, and not putting that expectation on me that it's all the time.
Yes. And going back to our last episode of the red days, the green days, the yellow days, they happen.
Be patient with yourself. And I'm sure I've talked about this before, but maybe not, is like having my Apple Watch. Like, I don't want to encourage everybody to go out and spend money, but having my Apple Watch helps me. It is my alarm in the morning. I don't need my phone there for my watch to wake me up, but it's also helps me with that live and die by my Google Calendar, because the face that I have set up for my Apple Watch includes my calendar, so I can look at my watch at a glance and see what's next before I go to bed at night. I can look at it and see like, what is my first like scheduled appointment of the day. So it really helps me to get up and not be worried about what time do I have to be somewhere or on a meeting or all of those things. Yeah. So
it's working.
Yeah. And what works changes, and it's okay that changes. So we would love to hear what's working for you. You can send us a message on social media or drop a comment on this podcast, because we're always looking for new ideas to help us and our brains and the way they work to figure out, like, kind of unlock some of those things that, like, I was going to say, like, make us function more like a neurotypical, but like help us function.
Just like help us function.
Yes, that's exactly it. So if you've got any tips, let us know. We'd love to hear them, and maybe we will share them on the podcast, because this is probably going to be a reoccurring thing. Like 6 months from now, when we look back on this episode,
there'll be new things.
Like, oh, we're not doing those anymore.
No.
Except the Google Calendar, that'll probably stay. And probably the consistent bedtime, but we will see. So thanks for being with us here on the Mind and Money podcast, and we hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait to see you next time.
Bye.